morning. This is Stephanie Smith with Risk Management Professionals, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons of remote PHAs. To get us started, first I'll say that our producer will be in the background keeping us operational and taking questions. In addition, because we're using GoToWebinar, if you need any support or have technical difficulties, we have the 877 number available for troubleshooting. And you can also adjust the interface with video and make adjustments as needed on your screen. That will not be part of the recorded video later. So let's go ahead and advance into what we do at Risk Management Professionals. We specialize in process safety and compliance. Our key services include PHAs with a variety of methodologies. Also work in PSM, RMP, CalARP, and CAP programs. That's in Nevada. We're also getting involved a lot with oil and gas with the new CalARP program for regulations, and a lot of emergency response and preparedness development and training. Our main office is located in Irvine, and our contact email client.services@rmpcorp.com is there for everyone's reference. Today we're going to talk about the importance of a quality PHA and then the benefits and challenges of remote PHAs, and talk a little bit about some notes on preparation and a quick summary at the end. So PHAs are important as far as high quality is concerned because of the Bhopal disaster in India in 1984. It's really the turning point for process safety and how businesses started looking at the quality of the programs they're putting together and how process safety is just good business, protects the business infrastructure, the developments and the business itself and everything going on with that. So it did change quite a bit on how we look at process safety and chemicals and dealing with all that. Common PHA techniques, this comes right from CCPS. It's the Center for Chemical Process Safety. And this is just a common list. Most of us are probably familiar with what if checklist analysis, HAZOP, and possibly getting into FEMA or FMEA, failure modes and effects analysis, or fault tree. Those are pretty common. Basically, the primary objective of all these methodologies is to provide safety, quality, and completeness to the study itself. The intent is to discuss how a team can be effective remotely using the techniques listed. And as industry learns more and becomes more advanced, there's more being expected from a PHA. So it's good to take home is the expectations, especially from regulators, on what a PHA should include and what should be discussed. As far as HAZOP goes, I always like to cover this methodology. It stands for Hazard and Operability, and basically it's commonly used to combine what if or checklist methodologies, or LOPA, which we'll talk about in the next slide. It is one of the workhorse methodologies. It's been around for a while, very usable, flexible, and pretty much applies to any industry. It is a middle ground technique. It balances the time and resources and depth and detail associated with these studies to have a nice flat middle ground to work with as far as the study goes. And LOPA stands for Layers of Protection Analysis. It's a relatively new technique developed in the early 2000s. Again, commonly combined with HAZOP, and pairs very well because it builds on HAZOP. So as HAZOP scenarios are developed, it'll evaluate the safety features and safeguards of that particular scenario, in addition to what you're already talking about in HAZOP, and give you an extra layer of safety evaluation. It does kind of balance between HAZOP and QRA, where it kind of simplifies the QRA process. So you're adding a little bit of that quantitative portion of a QRA into your PHA study. Right now, LOPA is more commonly used in heavy industry, oil and gas, heavy chemical manufacturing, but there are applications outside of that for simpler processes or different kinds of industries. And this is becoming very popular for higher consequence risk events. So your fatality type events where you have a very high risk, this is becoming very popular to help mitigate some of that risk and prove that scenarios may not be as bad as they apparently seem on paper, at least initially. Here's a basic diagram showing the developmental milestones of both HAZOP and LOPA. As you can see, HAZOP's been around since the 1960s. And LOPA really started coming into play in the 2000s. 2001 is when CCPS produced and published their guidebook on LOPA, and it's been developing since. And Cal OSHA PSM integrated LOPA into their recommended practices for PHA studies in 2017. So it has been developing. We are talking about a little bit more depending on the industry, but HAZOP is really the workhorse, the one that we like to focus on and pair with what if for studies, just generally speaking. So the changes in capital project implementation have changed the way we look at PHAs. With the increased spending of financial project risk, increased stakeholders within the programs or within developments and capital projects. There's a lot of financial pressures where mistakes are not an option anymore. They cost companies lots of monies when there's an issue or something that develops in a capital, especially in a capital project, but in any project. Because of these financial pressures and accelerated project schedules, basically we're looking at more cost-efficient ways to provide services to clients and help move their projects along. And what's come out of that is telecollaboration for PHA studies. It's been very effective depending on use. We'll go through the benefits and the challenges of that in a few minutes, and how to prepare for that, with things to keep in mind, and how to avoid rework or startup challenges associated with big capital projects. That being said, remote PHAs can be very beneficial for smaller projects as well, and again, we will discuss that in a few moments. Let's talk about the benefits. There's an evolving technical environment that allows us to conduct these PHAs remotely pretty easily. We now have more in-house servers, and remote capabilities are more commonly used. We are more global as far as technology is concerned and integrated into it, even in our daily lives. And constant access to this can be a pro and a con, but generally speaking, these advanced tools can provide us access to data and help conduct these studies, help PHAs become more thorough and and catch more of those specifics that are needed to make it a good PHA. Also, because we're so ingrained in technology, we're becoming more comfortable with drawings and technology electronically and remote capabilities. So it is providing a lot of benefit with our technical environment to be able to do this kind of stuff. We can see the other participants if they're remote with cameras. We have better phone connections, be able to share screens. There's a number of reasons why this is becoming more popular as far as an option for PHAs. Again, talking about information technology and multiple screens, that having multiple screens has made a larger ease of use for the technology. Allows us to view P&IDs and PHA worksheets together, even if you're in a co-located PHA, that can still be beneficial with multiple screens. Also, P&ID revisions can be done electronically and immediately. The entire team can see it together, and then it can be emailed off to the graphics development team, whoever your drafter may be, and be done. So you kind of get everything done in one fell swoop, which is very helpful. And digital copies are much easier to share, can be emailed instantaneously if someone doesn't have a copy of their own on their computer or on their phone. So it is enabling us to be able to work more remotely and also be able to integrate other technologies and features into our PHA studies. There are a few software platforms out there that are pretty, pretty open as far as usability. So GoToMeeting is probably one of the most popular ones out there, and also Skype or WebEx. Zoom is a little lower down on the radar, but it's also usable. The biggest difference between all of these is the number of attendees that can join in. You're still talking about 50 to 100 attendees at the lowest counts. So there shouldn't be any issues with smaller PHA teams. I've never seen any PHA teams more than maybe 15 people. So there shouldn't be any issues with that. But generally speaking, that's the only difference between all of these softwares. The other big difference, though, would be if there's challenges connecting to some of these software packages through corporate firewall or something like that. We can get into the challenges of that in a few slides when we talk about the cons of remote PHAs. But the adjustable screen controls are a huge benefit and can enable participants to actively participate. Multiple cameras can also enable those in the study to see each other and read body language, which can be difficult on conference calls or with remote meetings. And then also looking at how available these softwares are. Obviously, most of them are widely available, but how usable they are, and what would integrate well with the corporate firewall you may have or application, or what your company may already be paying for licensing for a particular type of software. So that'll all factor in with these platforms. So remote PHAs are good for very large capital projects when you allow individuals to collaborate on smaller budgets. This can be used for large groups where it may be financially restrictive to fly everyone out to one location, or maybe you have set up 2 locations, a primary and secondary, where you have people going to. You can also have people that just listen in. So if you have any managerial corporate support that needs to listen in, where they don't really need to actively participate, you can have a call-in number just for those people as well, even if the main study is non-co-located. Also, subject matter experts, part-time participants only need to come in every once in a while, or contractors can also just listen in and participate as needed. So it allows for a lot of flexibility where you don't have to schedule around those that may not be there the entire time, may not be able to get there. Perhaps they just need to break away for this quick meeting and then go back to what they were doing. It allows a lot of flexibility for those types of participants, especially on large projects where they may only have part of the involvement that the main team has. Also on small projects, this can be very beneficial. Short PHAs, 1 to 3 days. Beyond that, I would say attention span can be a challenge, and definitely factor that into your team. Full day PHAs can be done. They can be very cost effective as far as travel time and getting everyone together, but you have to consider the fact that you don't have a whole team together in a room where attention spans and focus may be an issue on the phone. So the balance with all of that is always good to think about. But the scheduling can be more flexible with these as well. You can do part-time sessions over the course of a week for an 8-hour PHA versus having it all done in one day. It just depends on how that may work for a certain facility. For revalidations or follow-up, say if a PHA ran over, or in my case, we have outside facilitators coming in to do PHAs, and we run out of time one day, we can do a follow-up remotely to avoid the additional travel costs or whatnot, but still allow for that time to help the client out and finish everything going on with the study. So it is a nice flexibility there to be able to do that. And revalidations also to keep things a little shorter. Management of change exercises as well can provide a big benefit here, because they're typically a short effort and short turnaround. So saving that travel time for maybe a half day or 2 hours worth of PHA work may be very beneficial for the project, and may not have to involve the entire team for that. Say from the original PHA, it could just be a smaller team as well. And then this is an example of applications, just visually, of what's going on with where co-location versus HAZOP kind of come together. So the time utilization of a remote HAZOP may only be about 80% effective compared to in person. It's something to consider. However, there's a huge cost savings sometimes with lack of travel, where you can balance that in, and it can be very effective again for those that are part-time in session. So you can have these middle ground, like hybrid PHAs, where there's a core team located in one location and then remotely dialing in other people that are there, based on a temporary basis or part-time basis, or those that just want to listen in. Now, there are definitely applications where co-location for HAZOP is crucial and you need everyone there. So again, we're not talking about being applicable to everything. The remote PHAs have specific useful applications, and then co-location PHAs have specific useful applications, and both have their place. But you can see the kind of the division of labor here as far as what makes sense. So let's talk about the challenges. There can be IT challenges. The support for interactive P&ID display can be a challenge. Equipment testing can be a challenge. We have issues with technology all the time. Mics don't work, cameras don't work. Someone can't connect to the meeting, the phone conference call number isn't working. So these can all be challenges, but again, something just to consider. If it becomes too much of a hardship, maybe it's not something to do, but that can also be alleviated by having extra IT support in advance and during the session, or at least someone in the room that can navigate their way around some of these challenges, and is pretty proficient with computers. Prior to the session, having testing equipment beforehand, verifying the accessibility, making sure that works, and having that on-call support can be very beneficial and helpful. Also, as part of the challenges, very large groups can be difficult to manage remotely. Again, we talked about attention span. We talked about too many voices in the room, not being able to read body language and all talking at once. So sometimes it'll be better if only some team members are remotely. Again, we talked about co-locating a main group and then having some of these other people call in. And it's much easier with smaller groups, a few people at a time. I've done them where the main team is in a room at the facility and I'm calling in as a facilitator. It allows a little bit more of that dynamic where they're in the room together and they can collaborate, and I'm really just listening and asking the right questions. So there's some logistics there, but generally speaking, it shouldn't create more challenges than benefits to do a remote PHA session. If you have more challenges, you're probably working too hard to try to make it work. So to scribe or not to scribe, the familiarity with PHA techniques is essential for a good scribe. And a good scribe can save a lot of time in a remote PHA, or any PHA for that reason, it could be argued that this could be very important. I can't speak enough for having a good scribe and being able to keep up with the team. This person should be able to know the PHA techniques that are being used, be able to read engineering drawings very proficiently, know the telecollaboration software, whatever software you're using, be able to work with that and be able to work through challenges on that. Also know a little bit about the team and understanding what the communications environment is going to be like, and basically must be able to support the team. They must be able to support that team and not hinder progress associated with that PHA. It's a lot of pressure, but it can help enormously when it comes to PHAs. And then room challenges. There should always be some kind of like deputy for remote location, someone in charge and in control of the other rooms in the study, whether it be a single room or multiple rooms coming together. They're basically a mediator to keep schedule, make sure people come back from breaks, because that can be a challenge with remote PHAs. You can't walk around as a facilitator or as a main participant and say, hey guys, we all got to come back to the table here and get going. So it is really important to have that at any location where that might be remote. and also could minimize language barriers. There are people, with thicker accents or maybe hard to understand because the microphone is far away from where they're sitting in the room. So having someone there who can translate those challenges, whether it be, helping with someone's accent to repeat things or to repeat things because the microphone's not reaching properly or whatnot, that all helps. And so it can be a challenge, but as long as someone is covering that and making time for that, you should be good. So let's talk about preparation. Generally speaking, for PHAs, it could take 7-8 weeks from planning and approval of the project to the study to be ready to go. This includes both co-located and remote PHAs. And a lot of the work actually comes in scheduling and making sure there's a date that's available for everybody. Any kind of PNID prep, I can't speak enough about having your PNIDs updated properly and making sure they're 100% current. I still, despite requesting this for every PHA, I still find PNIDs that are not reviewed beforehand and not updated, so we're updating them in session, which again takes more time. It's a little bit more difficult to keep up. And then also in this process, make sure everything's prepped. We like to pre-cause and populate causes to help session time. All of that takes time. So it's a general timeline. It's typical. It can be done faster. I have been able to schedule and prep things a lot faster than this, but generally speaking, it's good to give plenty of time to prepare for a PHA, whether it be co-located or. And as far as this preparation, again, we talked about predefining or communicating causes. This helps with completeness and future use. To be able to prepare causes ahead of time, review the PNIDs, and have that ready to go for the team saves a lot of time. It also gives the facilitator time ahead to look at the entire system and the equipment and really assess where the challenges are going to be in the study, again, which keeps things going. It also can help with the familiarity of the PNIDs and also to group causes together so we're not talking about the same things over and over and over again. So predefining and communicating questions can also be an important step here in the prep as far as how a particular device might work. Perhaps tag numbers are a little different than what is familiar, and all of this will come into play in the preparation. On-site preparation would include verifying room location and where things are needed, where the conference room is, where the facility is located. Usually it's a separate area, how to get to the facility or whatnot, what's accessible, is there any additional time needed for a large site to find one building or whatnot. It might not be at the front of the building or walk through the facility part way to get to where you need to be. So that's all part of preparation, is thinking through all that. And also leaving some extra time before session starts to check all the communications equipment and power and such, connecting everything up to a TV or a projector or whatever's being used. If for a remote PHA, to make sure the bandwidth is all working properly, there's no firewall issues, Wi-Fi issues, that equipment isn't gonna be outdated to the point where you can't use it. There's a lot of this can be used with, let's say, not new equipment. It can be older equipment, but there is a limit to some of the software and what it can work with. So in summary, the PHA, a remote PHA is not necessarily standard for everything. It's not going to be applicable to everything, but it does have some very important applications. It may require some extra planning and preparation, but in my opinion, when you have the right fit, the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages, and they should. If the advantages don't outweigh the disadvantages, you shouldn't be doing a remote PHA, you should be doing a co-located PHA. So the remote PHA can accelerate the progress of capital projects. It can aid in project control, enhance teamwork, and also have tangible savings, especially when you're talking about travel. But generally speaking, it can be faster, it can be put together better, it can be streamlined a little bit. There's a lot of savings in time associated with all that. And also, with the technological advances, this is giving us all an opportunity in the industries to embrace remote PHAs when it's beneficial. And again, those should be greatly advantageous to use. Also, to use these in appropriate circumstances, again, it's just a lot of benefits, a lot of flexibility. And then the process safety professionals should continue to adapt. We all need to embrace new ways of working together. This is just one of many, I'm sure. And it really does give us the opportunity to establish ourselves in a new environment. To follow up a little bit while we're waiting on questions to possibly come in, we have another webinar on July 16th for risk and resilience assessments by Ryan Bray. That's really more on our municipal side, but feel free to sign up or to reach out if you're interested. On July 30th, we'll have another webinar on how to get the most out of your PHA study using PHA Pro software. Michael Pfaff and Craig Stickelmeyer will be doing that presentation. And then in August, we'll have a presentation on operating procedures. I believe that's still working title. Katya and Jasmine will be doing that, and we'll be working with them to make sure that gets up on the schedule on our website as well if it's not there. And then we will be at the RETA National Conference for those of you in the ammonia refrigeration industry in Vegas on October 8th through 11th. I will be presenting in a workshop and also a presentation on a paper. We have more information coming in. We're just starting to get prepped for that, so we'll have that available as we get that information and know what we're doing. And then we have a workshop in October. Actually, I'm looking at that date, and maybe September. So we'll double check that. If you're interested, please email us. But that will be in Pomona at Cal Poly, and we're getting that one developed as well, and getting agendas together. So we'll have more information in the upcoming weeks. But if you're interested, please reach out to us, especially if you're local. That should be a good one. We're partnering with the school on that one. And with that, we'll open it up for questions. And I don't see any. So I will go ahead and close out. If you have any questions, please use my email below, call us, go to our website. We'll have this recording posted in about a week. And if you have any further questions, my email's there, and feel free to email me. Thank you very much.